Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the play. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the play. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the play. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the play. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas as low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang. And we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight. Cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day. They still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. But mama, she bad but complain. Cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane and go get this money with them. I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang.
I get the bag with the gang. Taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that shit change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Rari, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls, while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Let's go, it's Friday night. I make them hot. I make them shiver. Things get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That eat your heart out, mic flip though. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most from the East Coast, and as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. Now, folks, you need to get your monkey ass and gather, because it is Friday night and it's time to have the dance party at 10 o'clock. I don't know where Nitty is. Anybody seen Nitty? I'm putting a motherfucking APB out, a motherfucking wellness check. Anybody seen Oz? We need contingency plans and backups in this motherfucker. Don't fuck around and not have a DJ show up, because then your ass gonna be stuck with me. And then I'm gonna just be playing some shit. That's you don't want that to happen. You don't know what the fuck might go on if that's the case. Now, let's go ahead and have our communion so we can get this party started. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man, all glory and honor is yours, who fled for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. I'll never hit it out whiskey. Alrighty, and now let's go ahead and get our communion. So, you know, we're going to go ahead. We're going to jump straight into this OG Roddy. We're going to throw it back. We're going to throw it back to the Stunt 102. Let's go.
Ready for takeoff?
Whoa.
Let's go.
We're gonna hold on my stump. What's the problem? I ain't have shit to show, being modest. Now it's grams of the wax for my conscience. Bron James in LA. You're on call.
You're acting funny. You're acting funny with my money. We can't have that. Can't have that. Can't have it. Oh, Lena's working a double. That's the pain in the ass of going to work twice. Alright, y'all, I might not have this perfect, but I'm going with what I got here. I got Lena first.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name,
I gotta look at the tree second.
and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see your troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
I got UC Love third. Let's go. We in here. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. We're right back with my main man, Sam Richards. I kind of really enjoyed that. I wanted to bring y'all a little bit more. We got to jump into my sociological background, motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? They be like, oh, Jay only really has anything to say if it's about fucking evolution because that's what his PhD is. Even if he talks about racism, what the fuck does he know? Look, y'all, I'm telling you, I've been dealing with race issues by way of lived experience and professional expertise. And this right here is the man I did my training with at Penn State. His name's Sam Richards. He's awesome. How awesome is he? I named my fucking dog after him. That's because he's my mainest man's. Really took after me when I was in school. Love this man, really sincerely. But yeah, we ain't got a whole lot of time, so let's get it.
Exploring white privilege today.
Let's go.
We're gonna need 6 volunteers. I need 3 people.
Pick your hands
who have a
up,
strong
kids.
perspective.
I'll like this, students.
white privilege.
I'll tolerate this.
Like, have a perspective. You got a critique on it. If someone asks you about it, you could be like, "Oh yeah, no, I can talk about white privilege. I got this."
I got this.
A white person who grew up in the middle or upper middle class white world.
Come on, let's
now
go.
I need.
Hands
Now
raised.
I need a
We ain't
poor
got
white
time,
person.
kids.
And
Poor
then
white
I
person.
need
Come on, we call them
a
out. We're playing the
wealthy
race cards.
black or brown person.
Wealthy black dude, raise
So
your
here we
hand.
go.
Come on,
So,
hurry up, kids.
bro, give us something about you. So you're like, you two are, you're just here.
Gang, are you sober right now? Nobody's allowed to be sober. If you're sober, you're getting a fucking timeout. Don't tell me you're sober. Everybody needs to hit something, drink something. If you're gonna do beyond that, snort or shoot, just be very careful and just.
You can actually
be careful,
you
but
can
let's
actually
have
move
fun.
your seats just away a little bit.
Sober
You're
kids get a
you're on, bro.
timeout.
Tell us about
We're
yourself.
creating a new hierarchy.
White guy.
Sober people are second-class citizens.
I'm a sophomore here. I'm from Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
My mainest man's is from Bucks
you
County,
studying?
Pennsylvania.
Finance.
Shout out to Zach.
Finance.
Shout
Oh,
out
you
to
want to be in
Bucks County.
finance? Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
from
that's-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's the
These
ticket.
these weird
To
places
what?
mean something
So
to
you
me.
got what's your background? What do your parents do?
My mom is an office manager, and my dad is retired.
Yeah. And so you're here studying finance.
Yes.
You're in a frat?
Yes.
What, the EX frat?
That's what some call it. Yeah.
What is it?
Sigma Chi.
Sigma Chi? Oh, you guys aren't on probation or anything? I thought it seems like half the frats are on probation.
Not right now. No.
All right. Probably, give it another week. You probably will be. All right, so here's what I want. Monet, Dalton, Allaire. I want you to explain this guy, his white
Penn
privilege.
State has like the more fraternities probably than any other university system in the world. At least that was one of the things back when I was there. I'm sure they're still up there. It's like a school. It's like one of those schools where like the parties you see on TV, you're like, yeah, no, it's way more hardcore than that. And then when you go to other schools, you're like, no, this is not that.
He was an engineer.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Did you get that? Oh, all right. Do you want to start?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to ask. So, did
Hold it, Mike, really
Did
tight.
both of your parents go to college?
No, neither of them did.
Neither of them went to college?
Interesting.
And he became an engineer?
Yes.
How do you say how?
One of his best friends
Oh.
started a
Wow.
company, and he's good with math.
So, was there like a connection, like a friend?
Yeah, they used to like race together. Cars.
Go ahead.
Any other questions?
So your job is to explain his white privilege. He doesn't know white. He doesn't get. He doesn't get his. Dude, look at this guy. He's like a frat. What do you call? Who are they? He's like just a frat dude.
I suck.
Come on, man.
All right. So
What? All he thinks about is beer
It's fun
and.
Y'all gotta
You know?
remember, this is Social 119, baby. This is one of the most popular classes on campus. This is that safe space where we can have fun with that. We're doing education here, baby. You can have a good time. This class was so much fun. I love being a TA for this class.
You know what I mean? I would say women.
It's an honor. You tell people you're a TA for Social 119, they're like, oh, okay, I know what time it is.
But whatever. But just beer. He hasn't even got to women yet. It's just beer. Bro. So you're going to explain white privilege to this guy.
yeah, all
'Cause
right,
he's
so-
this guy, have you ever, Do you look in the mirror and think about your white privilege, bro?
Not usually, no.
Okay. I mean, in other words, never. All right.
All right, so the way I look at it is it's probably a combination like two things, right? So the first thing is, you know, if you were to just like say, let's say like before you were born, right? It was like you're going to be either born white or black, and then you were randomly selected into like one white or black family. Most people, if their goal was to be born into the best opportunity, you would choose white. Because there's more white people in better opportunities
Great to
than there are
see
black
you.
people in good
What's
opportunities.
up, Gerald?
And not only in this country, but like in the whole world. So like all black people and all white people, right? And then another thing is depending on which country you're in, like, you know, America, like, I don't know, like, I'm white, right? And I have some black friends that say being black never held them back about nothing. And then I have some black friends that say like their whole life is different because they have all these opportunities that they couldn't get to because they're black. So I don't know about that, but that's another perspective, which is that, you know, just like same thing kind of like with being like a man, right? Is like you don't know what you're given, right? Because like it could be anything. Like you go to like this is like a little example, but like go to a grocery store, right?
All right, hang on though. Before you give that example, go to Alaire first. We can come back to that.
Okay. To express or to tell you about your privilege, I think we should talk about your parents. The fact that both of them seem like they're financially stable, and your father became an engineer off the fact of having a friend that he raced cars with. That's amazing. That shows that if an African American was in that same situation, the likelihood of that would not be even existent. Also, you're in a frat, so that means you have time to, you know, drink beer and hang out with your friends and do stuff like that. On the other hand, a lot of students that have to pay for school, go through school, X, Y, and Z don't have that luxury. So right there, you have the luxury of being in a frat, having parents that are able to provide for you.
I feel like it's not necessarily just your parents. You like you yourself. You're not the privilege. The privilege is in society, and that's just because like America was built on white privilege. So it's like so like you see it's enrooted. Like it's not even it's subconscious. So when an employer, like let's say your mom walks into like a job, you said she's office management, something like that. Yeah, so let's say when she walks in there, you know, she'd have the same tone, and then like someone of another look or aspects have the same tone, and the employer subconsciously is just gonna gravitate more towards her, maybe because the other person comes off aggressive, but they're doing the same exact thing. And like he just said, if someone of like another race were to say something like what she just said, yeah, or something like what I just said in the same exact tone, it would be subconsciously interpreted another way. So that's why like the privilege comes into the way society like automatically views a certain groups. Like one group is automatically subconsciously viewed as aggressive, while the others seems like, oh, you know, this is more suited for the workplace, different things like that. So it's not just like you and your family itself, it's America. And I feel like in order for us to fix like that part of America, which you know, was made in like the 1800s and slavery and Jim Crow and all that, I feel like we have to acknowledge like that it's a thing, and that's like we have to circumvent it in that way.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks, Mom. Dude, tell us about your white privilege here. They're laying it out to you. What do you have to say?
Now, this is what was really interesting about this is part of the reason the students in this class are so into this is because they actually have these conversations in their recitations, right? So this is like a two-part class. Like you have a lecture in with Sam, and this is it's still a lot of active learning, and you know, Sam's a phenomenal teacher. But part of the reason the students are so into these conversations like this is because they're recitations that are led by their TAs, you know, are sitting around in the circle having these conversations, and they all have to participate in it. So then part of what they're experiencing now is their peers and classmates having to have those conversations in front of everyone. So it's quite a buzz in the environment.
What I'm getting...
I can't wait till your frat brothers are watching this.
Yeah, they still are right now. I don't. They're kind of making it seem that I was born into it, and that us as whites have a better opportunity because of the subconscious mind.
No, just you. Just like
Me?
you have a better opportunity.
Yeah, just me. Sure.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Or you don't see it?
Maybe I don't. Yeah, sure. I don't see it. Let's go with that.
All right, so, okay, that's cool. Got it. So this is, mind you, this is what we're dealing with, right? It's like, we got to find a way to say it. We're going to come back to you for a second, bro. But in the meantime, we're going to come back to you real fast, given what you said. It's built into society. So, you did nice, dude. You know, I don't, what's your story? You're white, right?
Yeah. So my parents are divorced, and when they got divorced, my mom wasn't working. So it's kind of just been like slowly working up to where we are now. But even then, I would consider us pretty poor. Like, we've never owned a house. We've been running pretty much my entire life. My dad was remarried, and his family like makes more money than us. But with me, and my sister primarily living with my mom, I would consider.
All right, Gerald, appreciate you. So one thing I want to mention is we shouldn't conflate white privilege strictly with economic terms. The economic case is it's right there. It's apparent. There are hard numbers. It's easy to quantify. We can kind of all see it. It plays out in our lived experience a lot. And I feel really strongly about this because I was kind of brought up by my dad on politics, right? That's why I'm so politically active, because of my dad. And he always instilled me with the sense that when it comes to, say, poverty, rural issues and urban issues are usually quite aligned. It's just unfortunate that the racial and demographics often have us get that twisted. And so I always say we got to remember that, you know, most poor people in this country are white, just because most people in this country are. And the issues of economic justice, therefore, are beneficial to all of us. But setting that aside, right, like, you know, privilege is a lot more than that. Like, one of the things that's been striking to me most recently is just access to what I consider to be the full range of emotions, right? Like, for a lot of people in marginalized populations, we seem to have a much narrower band of acceptable behavior. And what feels like just everybody's natural emotions, like sometimes I'm super sad, sometimes I'm real pissed off, sometimes I'm, you know, sometimes I'm quiet, sometimes I'm loud as shit and cursing a lot. It feels like people are able to like ride their waves up and down, whereas I feel like for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people probably feel that way, like it's a lot easier to face a lot of backlash and consequences just for what feels to you like just expressing your full range of emotions. Another one that's always got me was like sexual privilege, where, so for instance, like, you know, universities, right? Obviously, there's a lot of potential for, you know, particular conflicts and romantic pursuits. And so there's a lot of training to be made aware of sexual harassment and partnership violence, and you know, making sure you don't, you know, do anything with anybody you have any sort of, you know, certain responsibilities or proximity to, and things like that. And it's always felt like a lot of the times, especially the white male academics that you see, like they're totally comfortable like flaunting that. Actually, it's white people, because I've seen women do it a lot too, like just totally inappropriate stuff, like pulling up pictures of their students in meetings and talking about how attractive the students are and shit like that. And literally, I've excused myself from the room, right? And part of the reason I excuse myself from the room is because I'm like, yeah, my black ass can't be caught up in here doing shit like this. Like, yeah, y'all maybe I'll sit around chuckling about this, but somebody catches me up in this and makes a report about it. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a whole ass problem. Even though I'm not the person, I'm just sitting here, right? But I'm like, I can't even be caught sitting here. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. Like, there's no backlash for the person doing it, right? But for me, I can't be caught sitting here. You know what I mean? So that's just some of the stuff I want to speak. So not to say that y'all don't know this or not aware of that, but I just want to, for posterity's sake, for the sake of the content here in the video, I wanted to use that as an opportunity to have the conversation to say that, not to throw any shade at you, Joe. Appreciate the comment, brother.
Us pretty poor, but
Okay, so how do you incorporate her into it, bro? You can join in on this. How do you incorporate that? Because you said it's built into society.
Yeah, it
she
is
must be
built
living in a different
But
society.
there's anomalies, like, at the same time. Like, I feel like white privilege and saying, oh, every single white person is, like, privileged. But at the same time, like, factually speaking, your family, not you specifically, but people in general, their families are more likely to have generational wealth just because of simply the way, like, America is built. Like, you're built to more likely have privilege in society.
Okay. Bro, do you want to respond to her? Like, how would you incorporate her?
Well, I was also grew up kind of poor.
Where'd you grow up, bro?
Well, I grew up in Lehighton. It's like a small town, kind of like pretty far east from here.
Okay.
It's like pretty depressed town.
So how?
And
Okay.
then-
What? Depressed?
Yeah, there's like a lot of like.
Do you-
It's actually mostly white, but I mean, there's a lot of people doing drugs. This is like not a good place to grow up, and it was really bad environment. So like that wasn't white privilege. You know what I mean? So like, but I don't really think that has anything to do with white privilege, because like there's black people that are very rich and very famous, and there's white people that are very poor. It doesn't necessarily mean that white privilege doesn't exist.
So this doesn't negate white privilege. Well, how would you?
No, it's just an outlier.
Yep, I got you. How do you incorporate her story into it?
So I think that white privilege talks about how you can access agency, like what can you do? So like say hypothetically, you're saying that you grew up poor, however, you do attend a PWI, and I feel like that in itself gives you a privilege versus somebody who, let's say that was person of color in your situation, mom wasn't working, X, Y, and Z, would they still have the opportunity to attend Penn State? So I'm not necessarily saying, I'm not invalidating anybody's experiences because I feel like it's all valid. But what I'm saying is that white privilege sometimes gives you the freedom to access better opportunities, and it's since solely off because you are white.
Okay, so you caught that, right? You said that really well. Like, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
No. You laid that. That's the point that you're going to lay out. It's like it gives you a certain amount of privileges just being white. However, here's the however. Man, you are walking on a razor's edge to say that like her being white somehow this in this some kind of microwave or whatever like gives it's a razor's edge.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not saying that. But let's say like even as
Yeah, and I'll speak to this too. So like I came up in economics fluctuate. Like I grew up with a certain amount of economic security in my household based on my parents' ability to provide for me that I don't have based on my ability to provide for myself, even though I have more education than both of my parents. But that's just but who knows, right? That it could always be that way, or I could end up maybe with a comparable income at some point. I highly doubt it. To be honest, I doubt it. I doubt I'll make as much money as either of my parents. Certainly not as much as my mom. It's just not really in the cards for most academics. But so where am I going with this? Like these issues are kind of difficult to see. So for instance, when I grew up, both my parents have master's degrees. And so they were both more educated than most of my white peers' parents. Not always. But and it didn't put me near like the bottom of the economic spectrum, especially because I lived in a nice community and went to private schools and all of that type of stuff. But the amount of racism I dealt with as a result, oh my God, it was a nightmare. It was a fucking nightmare, yo. I literally lived. I've had a life you could easily write a very good book about or a very good movie. I'm just too busy trying to survive this motherfucker to get around to that, quite frankly. But it's funny, like when you go to Penn State, because you're at a majority campus, and even though my parents did well for themselves, there's no way they would have been able to pay for me to go to Penn State. And the only way I could pay for it is because I was on a scholarship. So then I'm there on a full academic merit scholarship, but it is, it has the purpose of increasing diversity, right? So it puts you in a tough situation because people just focus on the diversity part and they forgot the fact that you had to win an academics fellowship to fucking college, which is really hard to do. And it was super competitive, but so it's there's like a lot there. You're like in a world that you can't really afford to be in, but a lot of people can't afford to be in. So then, right, like that's a mess. Because then there's a lot of students there who are, poor. They're from working class backgrounds, and they're having to pay their way through school, right? Although, to be honest, that's part of where things get complicated, because if I compare myself to most people if I compared myself to most people who got to where I'm at academically, so in terms of just finishing a PhD or whatever, because that just means you have to, fund a certain amount of schooling. I have as much probably or more debt than people who didn't get scholarships. Because I've had to fund just so much of my living, and that's not always going to be the case, right? But people don't often realize that. Like, there are cases where people don't realize it, but there are people who get like law degrees or medical degrees, and they take on like, substantially into the six figures worth of debt to fund that education, and then they go into like not necessarily the most profitable things that they could be doing with their careers because of their, whatever their interests or their convictions are, or whatever they want to do with their careers. And so they a lot of them will retire. People don't realize how many doctors or lawyers will retire with student loan debt, right? So this simplified picture that people get, like, oh, so-and-so's a doctor or a lawyer, oh, they automatically are making good money. That's not true. I don't make a lot of money, right? Just because I have a PhD does not mean I make a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money. If I told people how much money I make, you'd be like, why do you have a PhD? You'd be like, a lot of you would be like, I didn't go to college and I make way more money than you do. I'm like, yeah. I literally tell people you should only go to college if you need to. I'm not an academic because it's the fucking most rewarding financial path I could have chosen. That's for goddamn sure. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have a lot of debt, right? And then so it's hard, and then it's hard for us to make it because we don't have the same supports that often a lot of our peers do in terms of getting through stuff like that. So it's all a fucking mess, right? But the one thing that is great about this class is students really become aware of the difference, that when we're talking about something like white privilege, we're talking about something that is really multifaceted, and it's not as simple as just, oh, it's all about economics and all white people are richer than all black people. Oh, wait, nope. Some black people are rich and famous, so white privilege is not a thing. It's like no, white privilege is a thing, and then separate from that, there are all these other issues which often also have structuralized racial components to them, even though there are going to be people who are exceptions to the norms. But if you dig a bit deeper and you compare those people, say, to their peers, or, you know, more relevant points of comparison, you'll realize that these structural inequalities based on race still exist, even within those sort of subspaces, right? So you might say, like, for instance, my mom was a corporate executive. Okay, that's a privileged existence in terms of the average black experience in America, sure. But at some point, her peer group becomes then other corporate executives. And then relative to other corporate executives, my mom and other black women like her are dealing with a lot of problems like glass ceilings and not equal pay and, you know, microaggression, like a lot of stuff where you'd be like, oh yeah, okay, once we adjust for who's the relevant, you know, comparison group, oh yeah, there's still a big problem with racism here. You know, once you deal with, yeah, okay, I get it, I have a PhD, but that doesn't mean I'm rich, and I had to take on a lot of debt to get a PhD, and I don't really have an high income because I'm still at an early career point in my academic career, and there's still a shit ton of academic racism I've got to overcome if I'm even going to be able to successfully have a career as an academic, which is why I'm thankful for programs like the one I'm in that try to help give us more resources and opportunities to make it happen. But yeah, I'm thankful to be able to share the opportunity with you guys. Also, quick story time. This guy right here is actually named after Sam Richards. I have this weird thing where I named my pets after Penn State professors, and Sam did have the opportunity to meet Sam Richards, and you know, it's kind of weird, but most of my professors, they'd be honored by it, and you know, Sam, he thought Sam was one of those dogs. He's so ugly that he's kind of cute, and they got to have a little fun together. So that was a nice day, right? Got to meet your namesake and have a good time in the Richards home when we went to visit Penn State there. All right, let's go ahead and
as far as like funding, and I'm not saying you in particular, but I'm saying if it comes down, if you present your story and somebody else presents their story, who would get scholarships? Who would get funding? And I'm not saying I don't know your financial background. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that if you take a black person and a white person on equal playing fields, you go up in a poor neighborhood, drug infested, so on and so on, who has the better chances of making it out? And that's where white privilege plays a role. So I'm not saying like, oh, well, white privilege, you're going to get to do all this and all that. I'm not saying that. But if me and you are on an equal playing field, come from the same background, social economics, then will we still have access to the same things? Probably not.
Okay, hang on. Will we still have access to the same things, right?
Right.
So what do you think about that? What do you think about your white privilege?
I definitely do think that even though I am on, I guess, the lower class level, I still think that white privilege exists. Like, I agree with your statement. And it's like, I don't want to say it's not something that we can help, but it's just how people look at things today. And
can you give me an example, though? Because, hang on, that's you know what she just, can I just say, hey, everyone, can I just say this really fast? That's a script. That's one of the scripts that your generation has learned. It's like, yeah, I know I have this isn't bad. Like, you're good. Like, you're a good white person, right? Yeah. You learn the script. I know I have a certain amount of privilege. Man, you could be living on the streets, eating rats for dinner, eating whatever, and you could still be like, oh no, but I got the script, but I still have privilege because I'm white. It's like, hang on a sec. To go back, give me one way in which you have white privilege. Your whiteness gives you privilege.
I haven't, like, I don't know. I haven't had a situation, at least in my life yet, where that has come into play, where I've been against someone who's not white, and it was like I needed a different opportunity. But, like, for example, like job opportunities, I'm sure that more in the future would probably be presented to someone who's white rather than someone who's of color. I don't know, like we were talking about financial aid and stuff, like scholarships and stuff, being able to go to Penn State. I don't know. I mean, I really haven't been put into a position yet in my life where that has happened.
But can I say to you all and to everybody else, as far as I know, Penn State has no scholarships dedicated for poor white people. I don't think there's a single one out there.
Yeah, right now, I can't.
So, yeah, here's the deal. Like, that's interesting because a big thing in the academic push for diversity is exactly what Sam said. It's not true, but here's the deal. There is a push normally for low SES in some programs, but very limited. More so first generation, right? Like if you're the first generation to go to college, in some cases, like if you're dealing with graduate programs, if you're like the first generation to go to graduate school, there's a lot of emphasis placed on families where somebody will be the first generation in their family. So that typically is where you will see a lot of white students in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs is because they're first generation. But yeah, much less so strictly low SES. Now, in wider educational programming, low SES is like universal, or at least seemed to be more universal. Like it came up a lot, like when I was doing community service stuff in Newark, and like you just didn't like if somebody was low SES, that's kind of a thing. But in like the higher education initiatives I've been a part of, low SES is not as much in the forefront. And damn, like it literally just hit me that like I need to talk to the people I'm working on a diversity grant with and see what's up with that. A lot of times, to be honest with you, it's set by federal regulations. Like there are federal regulations that say this is what they're looking for because you'll be looking for particular sources of funding. But yeah, it's a really good point.
Receive more financial aid this semester, so I have like a $2,000 bill that I gotta figure out how to pay in like the next 2 weeks, which sucks. But yeah, I mean. Okay,
so hang on real fast. We're gonna come back. How long would it take you to pay her $2,000 bill? You're she's Puerto Rican.
I wouldn't have to worry about that. But so in my opinion, like white privilege is a real thing, and I really do think white people have an advantage over minorities. However, there also is a big divide between the rich and poor, and I think that's a whole separate issue.
Okay, go ahead.
And yeah, so I feel like you're less privileged than me because, well, like I don't have money, but my parents have money and it's nice. So I don't have to worry about certain things that you have to. Like how much money? I don't want specifics, but like a lot of money. Your parents are really rich. I mean, they're wealthy. Like, yeah. Like you could call them right now and say, I need $2,000 because I got to give it to my classmate. Well, no, they make me work for things. I got you. But you could, if you needed $2,000, you could get it. Yeah. Okay. Dude, just trying to hook you up, my friend, all right? Look, so how do the three of you she's Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. So Puerto Rican, so you have, like in the United States, you have Native Americans, right? Then you have Black Americans, then you have Puerto Rican Americans, and Mexican Americans, and so on. So, like, how do you incorporate her into the way society is organized, since she clearly has far more privilege and power than her?
But that's looking between the two, you wouldn't be able to tell. And it's all about the optics. And that's how America works.
It's all about the optics?
I agree.
Yeah?
Yeah, like we don't know their intersectionality yet until they open their mouths. But when we look at you and we make an assumptions, and I'm not saying myself, but how America generalizes, we don't know that you have to pay $2,000. We don't know that your family's wealthy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, how does that work in your favor? At the end of the day, looking at you, you're still white.
Yeah, but okay, so listen, man. So hang on. What I just heard you say was that in the end, right? So tell me if I'm wrong here, right? But what I think I just heard you say was, really in the end, she's as well off or better off than her. What I'm hearing you say, though, and I want you to respond to this, is that she's still better off. In what ways is she better off than her, man? Like, in what ways? Like, I don't see any way in which she's...
From the visual, like, before you get to know them, before they open their mouths, what do you assume?
Yeah, but come on, man. We're gonna... So now what I'm doing is, I'm sitting out here, all right? Bro, I'm sitting next to you, okay? I'm sitting out here, and I'm just the average person who's thinking about this stuff, right? And I'm like, man, you have not made a convincing argument, because her, what's your name again?
Alexandria. But
Alexandria. Alex. I'm just like, come on, man. Your framework doesn't account for the fact that Alex's family is rich, and her family, I'm just going to say
But they're
rich.
two separate issues.
Yeah, we're talking about race and white privilege, and we're talking about the wealth inequality gap. Two different.
Yeah, but white privilege is also about wealth and equality. They're all together. I don't know how you could separate them. I'm not talking about, are we talking about, well, she won't get followed around in a store by a security guard, but you will? It's like, come on, man, so that's how you're defining white privilege? So I would say open it up, because we're throwing this idea around here. It's like, damn, because and by the way, I'm just having the conversation. Like, you got a lot of people sitting right here in her seat that are going like, I'm not getting this. And you got a lot of people sitting in her seat, a person of color who's got a lot of money, and then we're looking at her and going like, dude, all the people in your town are going to look at her and be like, oh yeah, I'd rather be me, the white person, than her. How many people in your graduating class would say that?
Well, I graduated from my high school. It was probably like 40% white people. I moved to Easton, which is like a little different than my like hometown.
Yeah.
There are some racist people, but most people wouldn't.
No, but I'm just asking. Can you also respond? Yeah, I got you.
I was just going to respond to the whole, like, white privilege thing. I feel like white privilege, it goes in, like, different aspects, like she said. So I feel like for the aspects regarding, like, financials and finances and, like, monetary things, I feel like just statistically speaking, white privilege is basically just saying, statistically speaking, if you're a person of, like, Caucasian background, your family is more likely to have generational wealth that's going to allow you, to be privileged like her and to get in college. But again, there's always anomalies. Like, sometimes your parents or your great-grandparents got lucky. Like my grandparents came from Jamaica, started a business, and then they became millionaires in New York. So there's always anomalies, but at the same time, it's going to be it's difficult. So her herself, if she steps in a place, her employer knows nothing about her background, and these two women come into one job market, and, the employer is someone of, basic, American views, are, views that are commonly seen in America, one person's more likely to get the job than the other. So it's
okay.
In finances, and it's
Okay, listen, man. So one thing you just said, your grandparents became millionaires in New York?
Well,
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Dude, so right there, the moment you say that, you understand, if I'm her, if I'm you, I'm just and now I'm in a class and we're going to start throwing words around like race inequality and white privilege and this and that, and I'm you. What do you think she's thinking?
I feel she'd probably think, I feel like it's still weird though, because it's still an anomaly. That's just one person in my whole entire family that allowed me to be where I am today.
But
on average, there's going to be percentile-wise, there's going to be more people, more white people, of Caucasian background who have, two grandparents of that same background, and that's where the privilege comes in.
Okay, so listen, man, let me just come back. This would take a long time to air out. Absolutely. Like you.
And it's kind of interesting too because a lot of people of color who manage to escape or no longer be, in lower socioeconomic status, oftentimes that's not the case for your family. So when you're dealing with such great wealth inequalities between the races, that's a really good point because you may have a family that becomes middle class or not even, which is it's just not much these days, right? It's not like, it's not enough that you and everybody that shares your name is all of a sudden financially worry free. So, not often is that experience sort of feel like anomalous to the greater experience at a certain point, but it also feels like it's anomalous even within your own family. So, the way I grew up in the Poconos, which I felt like was not much. Like we lived in a small home. We did like we had enough, but we certainly didn't have what a lot of the people I went to school with had. But then we were treated by, Black people from urban environments as though, somehow we were beyond having financial concerns. And I think the way my own life is played out has revealed that that's just not the way it is. And a big part of that is that we don't have generational wealth. And so even when there's the opportunity for some of us to do well, we often don't know how to translate, let's say, a high income or a good career into generational wealth. And the few families that do are so far behind the eight ball. But most families don't even know how, right? Like I'm not gonna talk all about it right now, but a big part of my critique on the way Black people deal with finances is that we're not aware of generational wealth, and because of the way we think, we shoot ourselves in the foot, and so we basically hit the reset button. Like we think it's like you make it, you do your thing, and then you raise good kids, and then they're gonna be able to pick themselves up and do better. And there's no understanding of how that doesn't provide any sort of resilience to economic disturbances and vulnerability. And then when you combine that with the fact that there's sort of a mythos at the heart of a lot of those ideas, and we're living in severe economic times where, as we looked at in the previous video we looked at from Social 19, like, people who were born at my time are doing much, much worse economically than their parents, regardless of what we've been able to accomplish. So it's not the economic environment that you can even afford that type of delusion.
You got to look at the numbers. We're going to look at this class at not just individual examples, obviously numbers, but what I'm trying to point out is, like, first off, this guy right here, dude, the white guy, he's just, like, we throw these words around and we throw stuff around and we take classes like 119 and we throw words and we expect everyone to get the white privilege stuff. It's like, people aren't getting, it's not landing. It's not going to land. It just doesn't land until we,
that's the problem.
Until we press.
All right, that was super fun. Really glad to be able to see. I'm so glad they put this stuff on YouTube, man. This class is really, really special, and man, I got to think about this because I'm trying to get more into streaming my class and the multimedia sort of aspects of higher education, and I like what Sam's such a great teacher. That class is so awesome, but it's also like, damn, right, he's also on the YouTube thing, and yeah. Man, I don't know what we're gonna do. Yeah, I guess yeah, that's always been the plan, right? Like if I have to go back to teaching in person, then I've got to figure out how to like, you know, stream class and do hybrid stuff and figure all that out in person. But I know at least next year I'll be teaching online again, and the project that I just wrote is about online education. So, all right, we'll see. But look, gang, as y'all can see, it is that time of the week. It's time to link up with the gang and gather and get ready for this dance party. So please do check out the link. Link up with the gang. It's pinned there in the chat. It is also in the description. Come join us and gather, and look forward to seeing you all. And again, man, still going through this move thing. Hopefully bought myself a little bit more time, which is nice, but still got to figure this thing out. So thanks for bearing with me in the little inconsistencies here, but appreciate y'all. And yeah, time to get and gather. Let's have some fun. And then I need to blow off some steam and game tonight and relax. So I'm so thankful to everybody for being here. I really do appreciate you guys tuning into the stream. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Share the channel with anybody you think would also enjoy the content. And yeah, come hang out and gather. Appreciate you guys. And till next time. Said I'm gone. Poof.
Zach, why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the hell's not a home. Sunshine cause you heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win, now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too boss. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Call. Thick game, lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call. It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
Be smoking that side. I'm trying to get high. She said that she not ready for lust. I waste my time. I got demons in my closet. I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong. They wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me when I say this. Oh my God, what a blessing. Hello Phoenix, that's my twin. I told these hoes they won't get my heart again. Not again. Cause they were missing when I needed just a friend.
They were missing, yeah, they